Gonna need that, do you think?
Yep. Helps if it's on.
Thank you to the brass ensemble, directed by Simon Tillier, and to our soloist, Zoe Cook. And thank you all for coming this afternoon. My name is Janet Shrunk-Erickson, and I am the Interim Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and Dean. My warm welcome to all of you, including our distinguished guests from many campuses of the University of Minnesota, especially President Eric Kaler and his wife Karen, as well as members of the Board of Regents and guests who have generously come to Morris from well beyond the bounds of Minnesota. Thank you, too, to our two signers for helping to broaden access to today's events by providing signing, Ashley Shimp and Tafton Bilbo. Many of us are made somewhat uncomfortable by the prospect of ceremony, myself included, yet the significance of ceremony, the value that it can carry for marking beginnings, for affirming roles and responsibilities and connections among us, outweighs in this instance my usual resistance to display. A change in leadership is not an everyday occurrence, happily, and we gain a new chancellor only after much thought and effort by both the candidate and those who hired her. It is a position full of risk and hard work, as well as public significance. Setting aside time to recognize that, to celebrate and solemnize all of that, seems to me, and I hope to you, a highly worthwhile effort. Thank you for your role in that effort. Our first speaker for this afternoon's ceremony is Jacqueline Taylor, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs and Professor of Communication Studies and Women's and Gender Studies at the College of New Jersey, a public university just outside Trenton, New Jersey, where she has been since 2013. Her experience before moving to New Jersey includes serving as the founding dean of DePaul University's College of Communication, and Dr. Taylor has held national leadership positions with the American Council on Education and the National Communication Association. She has taught and done research in the areas of autobiographical performance and gender in communication. Indeed, her research garnered the 2007 National Communication Association Lila A. Heston Award for Outstanding Scholarship in Performance Studies. And she is the author of several books, including a memoir. We are very happy to welcome Dr. Taylor Timorous.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to join in your celebration at such an important moment in the life of this distinguished institution. President Kaler, regents, elected officials, representatives of other colleges and universities in Minnesota and beyond, alumni, faculty, staff, and students of the University of Minnesota Morris, and other distinguished guests, we have come together to witness and honor the inauguration of Morris's 6th Chancellor and my dear friend, Michelle Behr. My first memory of Chancellor Behr is from the opening seminar of the 2005-2006 class of American Council on Education Fellows. There were 36 or so of us aspiring higher education leaders drawn from all across the United States and beyond, gathered together for a year of intensive study that would prepare us to tackle the challenges ahead. During our opening seminar, Hurricane Katrina was making landfall in the Gulf Coast, and in some ways that might have been a metaphor for the storms arrayed to buffet higher education in the coming years. In a room filled with type A personalities attired in carefully chosen dressy casual, Dr. Behr arrived in embroidered Mexican blouses and Birkenstocks. Her salt, she fits you, doesn't she? Her salt and pepper curls long and flowing. She was, we could plainly see, not one to be packaged. She radiated a determined authenticity, and her core of intelligence and integrity shone through. In our discussions, Michelle was not usually the first to speak, but when she spoke, others listened, because when she entered the conversation, she had something to say. A geographer from the Southwest, Michelle manifested a burning passion for quality liberal arts education and a determined realism about the importance of confronting the challenges that lie before us. Michelle has firm opinions, but she is the opposite of an autocrat. A careful listener, she knows how to ask the right questions. And in the process of answering her questions, you begin to realize you know more than you thought you did about how to tackle a problem. Michelle is a collaborator, someone who believes that we are stronger when we share information and learn from one another. Even when she confronts daunting obstacles, she forges ahead with that wry and knowing chuckle, convinced that we can always find a way to educate the students we have right now and prepare for the ones who will come next. Chancellor Behr believes in data and information. She has worked for a regional accrediting body and led teams on assessment. She also believes in those tangible markers of quality that cannot be quantified. Michelle and I enjoy each other's company enough that we have vacationed together, and even including the time I tried to get the better of her map reading skills in the middle of Mexico City, not a tussle you want to have with a geographer. I have learned again and again what a trustworthy, curious, compassionate, and capable sojourner she is. She loves an adventure and confronts setbacks with humor, making her a good companion wherever in the world she might persuade you to wander. Sometimes, when Michelle needs a break from tackling thorny problems, she leaves her office in search of a potter's wheel and a kiln. One of her beautiful pieces sits in our living room. The colors are earthy. The shape is elegant, but in a way that resists perfect symmetry. The pot was thrown by someone with an artist's eye. When she gets her hands in the clay, she listens with her fingers as it tells her what it can become. No two pots ever come out quite the same. Pottery is an ancient art, one that dates back toward the beginning of civilization and steps forward to the present day in myriad and ever-changing forms. Those who work with clay ground their work in the earth and create vessels we can use. There are leaders in higher education who know how to make something out of nothing and who know how to make that something beautiful. Michelle is one of these. There are others who can analyze data, think several steps into the future, operate strategically, and understand systems. Michelle is one of these, too. And finally, there are individuals with the special people skills allowing them to inspire and collaborate with colleagues within the freewheeling organizational structures of higher education. You've guessed it, Michelle is such a person. All of these are great strengths. Only rarely do they combine in a single person. You are indeed lucky to have, as the 6th Chancellor of University of Minnesota Morris, someone with such a powerful combination of strengths, fully prepared to lead this wonderful institution toward an ever brighter future. As I extend my heartiest congratulations to both Chancellor Behr and University of Minnesota Morris, I would like to close by quoting the last stanza from Marge Piercy's poem, To Be of Use. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine and oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry and a person for work that is real.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. We now have the pleasure of Svatba, performed by the Morris Chamber Singers under the direction of Bradley Miller, Assistant Professor of Music and Director of Choral Activities. Our next speaker this afternoon is Richard Dobler. He became interim president of Northeastern Illinois University in Chicago in July of 2016, where he had previously been provost and vice president for academic affairs. Dr. Dobler's higher education experience includes serving as vice president for academic affairs at Shepherd University in Washington, D.C., as well as associate provost, associate vice president for academic affairs at California University of Pennsylvania. And in fine liberal arts fashion, he has done all this with a PhD in theater after a Bachelor of Business Administration in Marketing. I have to say I loved that. Among Dr. Dobler's accomplishments at Northeastern are his establishment of the Center for College Access and Success, which partners with teachers, parents, and neighborhood communities to improve educational equity and excellence for students in college and beyond. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Dobler to our campus and to the celebration.
Thank you. Good afternoon, University of Minnesota Morris and distinguished guests. I am delighted to be here with you today to wish you all bon voyage on this new journey in the history of your great institution and to celebrate one of my closest and good friends, your new Chancellor, Michelle Behr. Michelle and I met as American Council on Education Fellows over a decade ago. We bonded quickly. It's not hard to be attracted to her easy manner, her quick wit, or relish in the fact that she's wickedly smart. One of her most admired traits is that she's always more interested in knowing more about you than bragging about herself. That's rare for presidents and chancellors, so relish it. It is this interest in others that makes me confident that she will be your bragger in chief. Michelle and I have served on more committees than we care to admit, published together, worked through some difficult situations in professional organizations together, and supported each other through life's opportunities and challenges. And what I found is that she never wavers. She always has your back. She is a willing contributor and collaborator. Her manner remains easy, and she continues to keep her wit even in the darkest moments. But most importantly, you know that she steadily leads towards and is focused on the end result. And that result for her must be grounded in community and sense of place. It is, in fact, her true north. Jackie, Michelle, and I are known at the American Council on Education as, quote, the committee. You will likely not see one of us without the other. And the three of us together, as one former director of the program put it, are a force. And most will tell you that of the three of us, Michelle never saw herself as a chancellor. Her heart is grounded as an academic. Michelle always preferred for someone else to give the report. She would write it and edit it. She preferred to make things happen behind the scenes and avoid the spotlight. But one day I got a call. You see, the committee speaks most weekends. And she told me about a place that intrigued her, and would I read a cover letter? Now that seemed odd to me because Michelle's an excellent writer. Her abilities in that area far exceed my own. But then she stated why. She told me she had never written a letter for a chancellorship. A chancellorship. I nearly dropped the phone. I kept reminding her about why she never wanted to be a chancellor, and her response was, yeah, but this place is different. Then she told me where you were located. And I said, how far from the closest airport? Is there a Trader Joe's? Do you realize that you spent the bulk of your adult life in the South? Think of the winters. Think of your dog. But the more she talked about you and the more she researched you, it was clear she was becoming smitten. So smitten that she might have found her special place that would ease her own wanderlust. Her interview at Morris confirmed that. She fell hard. Her bags were packed and she was just waiting for you to say yes, and you did. Morris, she believes in your institution. She identifies with the students that you serve. But most importantly, she believed that she could add in important ways to the journey of University of Minnesota Morris. And I know she can. For you see, with the installation of a new chancellor, there is hope that the institution will move forward, with the chancellor acting as a guide of sorts, working collaboratively with the community to chart a path forward, adding to its journey. As I began to think about my hopes for you and your new chancellor, I kept coming back to this idea of wanderlust, the desire to travel. And you, Morris and Michelle, are fortunate to be each other's traveling companions. Wanderlust is an English loan word from the extant from German language, dating as far back as Middle High German. Early 20th century saw wanderlust as in opposition to the values of status and organization. Sounds very liberal artsy, doesn't it? While postmodern would, by contrast, see it largely as playfully empowering. This postmodern definition of wanderlust aligns with Michelle's ethos as a leader. Much like her training as a geographer, her passion for world travel, her core beliefs as a humanist, she will be working with you to plot a clear course or an adventure to explore. You will find, as I have witnessed many times, that as Chancellor Behr with your guide, she believes in empowering the community to achieve better results. It provides for a more extraordinary and richer voyage, and the research will tell you it produces better outcomes. In some of her more recent endeavors, you can see this empowering at work with a quote from an article in Inside Higher Ed where she discusses her approach. Quote, "The external environment in which higher education is operating is very much changed," Behr said. "I wanted to figure out a way to help faculty understand that there is risk involved in not changing at all. I didn't want to make it a threatening conversation, but rather one that invited faculty to be in the middle of innovation and creativity." She believes that administrators have a duty to involve the community in discussions about important topics. Now her role as the Chancellor will widen in scope to include faculty, staff, students, alumni, donors in this new wanderlust, charting Morris's new travel. But she is prepared and eager for this expedition, and I hope you are too. Will there be twists and turns on the paths? Of course. For if we knew the outcome before we began, what's the point of the journey? Will there be bumps in the road? Absolutely. But remember, you have one of the most knowledgeable tour guides I know. And based on what she has told me about you and knowing her, I believe Morris has an exciting time ahead. And I am honored to be here for the beginning of that journey and look forward to our weekend talks to hear about your progress. In my discussion with your new Chancellor, she told me that Morris has Native American traditions built into the core of the culture, like the honoring song that is featured later in the ceremony. Northeastern Illinois has some Native American traditions as part of our institutional culture as well. One of ours is the Peace Fire. It is a place where people gather to reflect and share about their lives in the company of an accepting community. Coals from our Peace Fire have been shared and given to world leaders such as the Dalai Lama and used in special ceremonies around the world. Michelle, will you join me? Chancellor Behr, I pass these coals from Northeastern Illinois University's Peace Fire on to you as a symbol of the community that you are now entrusted to care for, protect, and lead, the University of Minnesota Morris. We pass it on in the belief that this bundle represents not only a physical, but also a spiritual connection to the sacred fires that have burned for thousands and thousands of years. We believe these bundles represent the collective consciousness of all the participants who have ever gathered. It is our hope that you will carry this fire coal bundle with a sense of purpose and understanding that the thoughts, intentions, actions at this moment do influence the next generations. Let them be a reminder of those that came before you and those that will come after you, and that may community and sense of place guide you and Morris on your journey together. University of Minnesota Morris, Chancellor Behr, I wish you good speed on this journey. Let the earth ground you, the stars guide you, the wind whisper to you, and the water nourish you. But may knowledge be the light that drives you forward toward new inquiry, new discoveries, new innovations, thus educating a new generation grounded in the fundamental and critical mindset that we call the liberal arts. Happy journey.
Good afternoon. I'm Sandy Olson-Loy. I'm privileged to serve as Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs here at the University of Minnesota Morris. The Morris campus was founded late in the 19th century by the Sisters of Mercy, an order of Roman Catholic nuns, as a boarding school for American Indian boys and girls. Today, 130 years later, we pay tribute to that history and recognize the ways that it weaves into our present and our future. We are honored to be recognized as one of the nation's American Indian serving non-tribal institutions and as the only four-year university in the upper Midwest so designated. We remember our history, celebrate our present, and welcome our future in a good way with the performance of a Native American honor song for Chancellor Michelle Behr. We are honored to have with us today the Northern Wind Singers, a highly respected First Nations drum group from the Ojibwe Nation in Lake of the Woods, Ontario. One of the most powerful drum groups on the Powwow Trail today, they have been recognized with North American and Canadian Indigenous Music Awards for Best Powwow Album and Best Traditional Album. Gabriel DeRogier, a graduate of the University of Minnesota Morris and a member of our faculty, is the Northern Wind Singers' lead singer, composer, and keeper of the drum. Gabe holds his Master's of Education with an emphasis in Indigenous language revitalization from the University of Minnesota Duluth, where he is currently pursuing his doctorate in education. His work and the music of the Northern Wind Singers is featured in a number of Indigenous studies and ethnomusicology texts, including The Music of Multicultural America, Performance, Identity, and Community in the United States, and Recording Culture, Powwow Music in the Aboriginal Recording Industry of the Northern Plains, published recently by Duke University Press. An Anishinaabe-Moan's first speaker and a leader in Minnesota's Indigenous language revitalization movement, we are proud to have Gabe teaching the Anishinaabe language and American Indian culture at Morris. Today's honor song recognizes Dr. Behr's achievements and installation as our 6th Chancellor at the University of Minnesota Morris, and it extends beyond her to all who are with us today who dedicate their lives to the highest levels of learning, teaching, research, leadership, and achievement in education. As you are able, we ask that you each please rise and remove your hats and caps for the Northern Wind Singers and an honor song for Chancellor Michelle Behr and for all of the accomplished learners, teachers, and leaders in education who are with us today.
Thank you. Our next speaker is the Honorable David Mcmillan, Chair of the Board of Regents. In addition to his role on the University of Minnesota Board of Regents, Regent Mcmillan is Executive Vice President of Minnesota Power, a role that I expect draws on both of his undergraduate majors, economics and history, from the University of Minnesota Duluth, and his law degree from the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. Regent Mcmillan's extensive leadership experience includes service as the board chair of the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, the Natural Resources Research Institute, the Area Partnership for Economic Expansion, and Goodwill Industrial Vocational Enterprises. No ceremony such as this would be complete without representation from the University of Minnesota Board of Regents, and we are grateful to have the chair of that board, the Honorable David Mcmillan, join us on stage this afternoon.
Good, glorious afternoon to all of you, and on behalf of the University of Minnesota's Board of Regents, thank you all for joining us for this momentous celebration, and thanks and congratulations to you, Dr. Michelle Behr, on your inauguration as the 6th Chancellor of the University of Minnesota Morris. The University of Minnesota system is made up of 5 distinct campuses, but the Morris campus is unique among those distinct campuses, a public liberal arts college that attracts some of the very brightest and most inquisitive students from across Minnesota, the nation, and the world. This is indeed a very special place. I've been thinking about Morris and thinking about what drew Chancellor Behr here, and I know place, that word, place, had a lot to do with it. But the mission of the campus, a public liberal arts college with a focus on student engagement, also attracted her. The campus is so much a part of the community that at times it is difficult to distinguish the two. Shortly after Chancellor Behr was hired, she told local media, "I'm excited to collaborate with the university community and friends to further the great work already taking place at Morris and together to ensure a vibrant future for UMM." As a regent myself, who lives and works in a community that hosts another of the university's system campuses, I know firsthand how critically important your commitment to community engagement and to community leadership will be. Chancellor Behr, we're excited to have you here as a leader on this campus, as a leader within the University of Minnesota system, and as a leader in the Morris community. We look forward to the vibrant future of this place under your leadership. Thank you.
Among so many distinguished guests, I am also honored to introduce our next speaker, University of Minnesota President Eric Kaler, who, I am very pleased to note, has made enough visits to Morris now that he might actually know his way around campus. President Kaler's first role at the University of Minnesota was as a student earning his PhD on the Twin Cities campus in chemical engineering. He left Minnesota after that, working at the University of Washington, then as dean at the University of Delaware's College of Engineering, then as provost and senior vice president for academic affairs at Stony Brook University in Stony Brook, New York, before realizing that he should return to Minnesota. He took the position of president in 2011, and his accomplishments in that role include being named to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, one of the nation's most prestigious honorary societies, and in 2 categories, for his work as a chemical engineer and as a higher education administrator. We at Morris recognize President Kaler's leadership and appreciate his willingness to listen to the voices and perspectives from our campus and the entire University of Minnesota. And we welcome him today for the formal installation of the Morris Chancellor.
Thank you, Janet, and good afternoon, everyone. Regents Beeson, Shue, and Omari, thank you for joining Chair Mcmillan and me here today. Chancellor Holtzclaws of our Crookston campus, Interim Chancellor Carroll of our Rochester campus, and Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs Irvin from our Duluth campus, thank you for sharing this moment with us. This truly is a University of Minnesota system-wide opportunity to celebrate. Warm greetings to Morris Chancellor Emeritus David Johnson, who is in the audience. And it's also great to see friends of the University of Minnesota Morris, such as U.S. Representative Colin Peterson, Higher Education Committee Chair in the House, Representative Bud Nornis, and Representative Jeff Backer. Thank you all for coming. Other distinguished guests from around the university, the state, and the nation, friends from our wonderful Morris community, it's my pleasure to join you this afternoon to officially install the University of Minnesota Morris's 6th Chancellor, Dr. Michelle Behr. On a campus with a history and a culture that embraces diversity and inclusion, Dr. Behr brings an extraordinary record and personal background to support and advance the Morris tradition. A global citizen, her father was an immigrant from Germany, her mother the daughter of immigrants from Eastern Europe, and Michelle has been a 3-time Fulbright Scholar, a true student of international affairs and understanding. An academician of great range, she has authored and co-authored publications and presentations on subjects ranging from prehistoric archaeology to national identity and immigration in Central Europe to leadership in American higher education. With bachelor's and master's degrees in anthropology and a PhD in geography, she is a champion of the liberal arts. And she's built an impressive resume that has led her here to this place, to this position, to this day, and thankfully, to us. She came from the faculty ranks to become a visiting scholar at the Center for the Studies of Higher Education at the University of California at Berkeley, and then to rise on the administrative ladder, department chair, associate dean, provost, and now chancellor. Clearly, she is eminently prepared and uncommonly ready for the humbling but energizing challenge to lead the University of Minnesota Morris into its next stage of growth, excellence, and indeed, adventure. I have no doubt that Dr. Behr's thoughtful, strategic, and collaborative approach is the perfect fit for the University of Minnesota at Morris. And that's why, Michelle, I very much look forward to working with you together to promote and advance the unique values and strengths of Morris to our University of Minnesota system, to our students, faculty, and staff, to the state of Minnesota, and to the Morris community. With that, I would now like to invite Dr. Michelle Behr to come forward. And it's my pleasure to formally install you as Chancellor. And the magic words are, by the powers vested in me as the President of the University of Minnesota, I hereby declare you, Michelle Behr, Chancellor of the University of Minnesota Morris, with all its rights, privileges, and responsibilities. Congratulations. On behalf of Chair David Mcmillan, the Board of Regents, and the entire University of Minnesota community, it is my great pleasure to present to you Michelle Behr, the 6th Chancellor of the University of Minnesota Morris. Chancellor Behr.
Place is a human construct, distinct from space, which we can define in terms of location, distance, or direction, for example. Place has to do with meaning that we give to a particular portion of the Earth's surface. Place emerges from the connections that we make between the physical environment, attributes such as climate, topography, biota, and human structures, how we use the land for economic, social, political, or domestic purposes. These connections ground our lives in particular places. We come from a place, we live in a place, we engage with a place. As a geographer and as someone who has lived in many places, I think a lot about the power of place and its significant role in my life and in the lives of others. Sites are endowed with distinctive characteristics, and the images we create about place are based upon our individual and collective interactions with these attributes. I have come to understand some things about this place. For example, how magically the seasons change from a landscape that's black with exposed rich glacial soil one day, only to be transformed by the ubiquitous verdant shoots the next. The infinite and unfettered freedom bestowed by a big blue sky that soars over vast expanses on the eastern edge of the tallgrass prairie, inviting imagination without boundaries. These are fertile grounds to feed minds and spirits at a liberal arts college. Over time, both natural and human-caused processes and actions affect places. Human-caused changes happen as values, technologies, knowledge, ideologies, political structures, and goals change. And we, in turn, are shaped by these changes. As they occur, our perceptions of place also evolve. Place, in other words, is always a work in progress. It is my great, deep privilege to join all of you here today in this place, Morris, Minnesota, and more particularly, the University of Minnesota Morris. I am pleased to welcome the members of the University of Minnesota Board of Regents who are with us today, as well as President Taylor, fellow chancellors, faculty, staff, alumni, and students of the University of Minnesota Morris and the other University of Minnesota campuses, and delegates representing institutions from across the country, members of the Morris community, legislators, and other friends of the University of Minnesota Morris. I would especially like to thank my family, former colleagues, and longtime friends who made the journey to Morris, went many extra miles to celebrate with us all. An inauguration formally marks a moment of transition in the life of an institution, and it's therefore an appropriate time to reflect upon the past, acknowledge the present, and articulate a vision of the future. And I hope to touch upon all of these things here today. And because this is Morris, it makes perfect sense to me to do these things within the context of thinking about place. Because this institution is a product of both the intellectual and emotional meanings that this place holds for those of us who know it and love it, and are committed to its strong and vibrant future. The University of Minnesota Morris, this public liberal arts college, is a relatively young institution founded in 1960, but it was not created de novo. Rather, it was built upon two predecessor institutions which continue to be visible actually and metaphorically in today's institution in ways large and small. The Morris campus is situated on what were Dakota and Anishinaabe homelands. Beginning in 1887, the Morris Industrial School, as you heard, first run by the Sisters of Mercy and later as a federal institution, boarded American Indian children as a central component of the then government policy of forced assimilation. In 1908, the federal government began to close off-reservation boarding schools, transferring the lands and buildings to the states. Congress deeded the Morris School and its property to the state of Minnesota on the conditions that any successor educational institution would admit American Indian students on a basis equal with that of other students, and that Native students could attend tuition-free. One building from that era remains on campus today, originally a boys' dormitory, now the Multi-Ethnic Resource Center. In 1909, Morris boosters lobbied the state legislature and the University of Minnesota to open a regional school of agriculture on the site. The West Central School of Agriculture opened the next year as a residential high school. The institution focused on innovation in response to a changing economic landscape for agriculture, so critical to this region. The faculty of the WCSA were simultaneously teachers and researchers, unusual for that time, and students attended school for 6 months each year, devoting the remainder of the calendar to their families' agricultural enterprises. By 1930, the basic historic campus was in place, designed purposely to be approachable and with a landscape that has been characterized as egalitarian. It is fitting then that when the University of Minnesota decided in the late 1950s to suspend the agricultural high school model, Morris business leaders and other citizens stepped up with what might best be described as a full-court press, assertively lobbying the legislature to open a University of Minnesota campus devoted to the liberal arts in Morris. It was also fitting that the first head of the new University of Minnesota Morris was an agronomist, though an agronomist who understood the power of the liberal arts to shape the new institution's future and transform its students. Truly, it was the improbable but wildly fortuitous vision of the town leaders and the institution's founders to create a public undergraduate residential liberal arts college amidst the agricultural expanses of west central Minnesota. Thus, the University of Minnesota Morris carries with it now and into the future three intersecting commitments. A commitment to build respectful, reciprocal connections with Minnesota's indigenous communities and Dakota and Anishinaabe tribal nations, as well as a campus that elevates and values Native American cultures, histories, and lifeways. A commitment to rural students, a respect for the value of agricultural and rural heritage of this region, and a spirit of collaboration, entrepreneurship, and service to advance West Central Minnesota, and an unwavering devotion to the transformative power and lasting worth of a liberal arts education. These three threads are foundational values most visible in our collective conceptions of UMM as a place. At the same time, this place has continued to evolve, to innovate, and to reinvent itself. And the disposition to embrace change is a less tangible, but no less important value bound up in our conception of Morris as place. Morris is more, however, than just its history and heritage, and over time as we have changed, a university has emerged that speaks to the best of what undergraduate higher education has to offer. The University of Minnesota Morris is an exceptional institution, and new members are attracted to our community because of the many exemplary qualities that we embody. This was true for me as well. We are one of 5 outstanding University of Minnesota campuses, a university system whose strength lies in each campus's distinctive way of bringing to life the university's common land-grant mission, grounded in each campus's connection to its respective place. We are a founding member and one of 30 Council of Public Liberal Arts Colleges and Minnesota's only so designated public liberal arts campus. We consistently win national awards and are nationally ranked for our work in a variety of academic and operational areas. These campus awards and recognitions, while appreciating that we are much more than just a little school on the prairie, do not adequately convey the qualitative attributes that make Morris, Morris, qualities rooted in place. This is a place where our students are first, and they rise in a million ways every day to meet local and personal and global challenges. They are committed scholars, enthusiastic citizens, and passionate about the causes in which they believe. Here at Morris, we ground their educations in a deep and rigorous liberal arts curriculum and rich experiential opportunities, and we encourage them to forge professional and lifelong relationships with faculty and staff mentors who prepare them to successfully complete advanced degrees, assume meaningful careers, and flourish in our constantly changing and intimately connected world. Our students are leaders here. They build community all around themselves, and they continue to be leaders in their communities' professional lives and our wider society once they leave us. That happens because of Morris. This is a place where we have long provided access and support to students from populations and circumstances traditionally underserved by higher education. Morris is the most ethnically diverse of the University of Minnesota campuses and a pioneer in inclusivity across issues of gender. As a community, we are deeply committed to our values of diversity and inclusion, as well as honest and respectful interactions around our differences. Connections happen here in classes, in residence halls, in student organizations, and throughout campus life. This is a place where faculty are dedicated, award-winning instructors, advisors, and mentors. Morris faculty are disproportionately recognized in the University of Minnesota's Academy of Distinguished Teachers. Our faculty also value, embrace, and bring to life the University of Minnesota's dedication to discovery through scholarly and creative work. And in true Morris fashion, faculty often undertake research and creative activity in meaningful collaboration with our undergraduate students. This is a place where dedicated staff bring our liberal arts mission to life daily in their work outside of the classroom. They are mentors, coaches, work supervisors, counselors, and collaborators who are also passionately committed to helping students succeed. They partner with students to create our distinctly rich living and learning environment, engaging students as leaders, co-creators, community builders, service providers, idea generators, and instigators of fun. They provide the resources and services that meet our students' needs within a culture of respect and care that lets Morris students know that they matter and are valued here. They craft a campus that physically and psychologically reflects our commitments to learning, to integrity, to creativity, to community, and to the appreciation of life and the beauty all around us. This is a place committed to environmental stewardship and responsible sustainability. Morris students initiated our work, and they continue to lead and collaborate around issues of sustainability on campus and more widely throughout the region. Our students run the recycling program on campus, tend the organic garden, advocate for locally sourced, fresh, and healthful food in our dining facilities. They challenge us to increase our reliance upon energy from renewable sources, wind, solar, biomass. Our students are integral to our governmental, industrial, agricultural, and other partnerships focused on making the city of Morris a model for sustainability in rural communities. Morris, the university, is of this community and this region, and it is both a product and shaper of place. When I arrived on campus last October for an initial campus visit, I knew this was the place I wanted to be. The values, mission, culture of the institution spoke to me directly. The capaciousness of the land and the openness of the people were compelling and inviting. And the students. The students were fervent in their commitment to this institution and wanted to make sure that I understood how important it was that the next chancellor be a fierce advocate for Morris. This is not difficult duty. This community inspires me to want more for our students now and our students tomorrow, and I will work alongside with all of you to make that happen. Just as I have reflected on the role of place in our past and present, I also understand place to be crucial in thinking about the work that we will do together as we imagine and then create the University of Minnesota Morris of the future as a model for living and learning. And it is here that Morris's foundational value of embracing innovation will be especially helpful. This fall, we are embarking on a campus-wide strategic visioning and planning process to define what Morris as an institution aspires to be into its future, how we continue to live our heritage and our vision as an innovative liberal arts university. To do so, we must first look outside ourselves to the context within which we exist as an institution of higher education, especially the current, and insofar as we can envision them, future realities of American higher education. In the process, we must ask ourselves probing and existential questions such as, what ought a liberal arts education to look like in the 21st century? Are our programs responsive to our 21st century world, a world of rapid change, new sorts of careers, and many challenges? What does it mean to provide the best possible experiences for our students? How can we best continue to support and enhance our commitment to educating and empowering underserved populations? How can we embrace our existing collaborations and build new partnerships within our campus, the university system, and the state of Minnesota? What is the role of place in our educational mission? In short, what does it mean to be a model for living and learning as an undergraduate residential liberal arts college here? As we navigate the visioning and planning process together, we will honor our mission, history, and culture, and our place on the eastern edge of the prairie of west central Minnesota as both bedrock and touchstone. We will honor our practices and programs of excellence, even as we examine our current assumptions. We will rekindle and elevate the spirit of innovation that is no less a part of who we are, because we must be both forward-looking and forward-thinking. We will move forward, imagining our shared future, building upon our strong sense of mission and purpose. We are grounded in place. And that gives me confidence in the future of the University of Minnesota Morris that we will envision and bring to fruition together. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a lot to think about over the next, year, month, in the future. Our last speaker today is fittingly a student. Ruby Debellis is a senior political science major with an area of emphasis in biochemistry and hails from Bloomington, Minnesota. On campus, Ruby serves as the vice president of MCSA, Morris's student government, is a captain on the mock trial team, and is co-chair of the dance ensemble. She also serves as Morris's Student Senate Consultative Committee representative, the student representative to the political science discipline, and is on the Inauguration Committee. Ruby recently completed the Humphrey School of Public Affairs PPIA Junior Summer Institute at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities and plans to pursue a master's in public policy after graduation. Please join me in welcoming Ruby.
Good afternoon, students, faculty, staff, esteemed guests, and friends. Today is a historic day for this institution as we welcome Chancellor Michelle Behr as the 6th Chancellor of the University of Minnesota Morris. It is an honor to be here today with all of you on this homecoming weekend to deliver the warmest of greetings from the student body to our new Chancellor. Chancellor Behr has only been here since February, but since then she has already made a strong connection with students. Between cupcakes with the Chancellor, visiting student organization meetings, and holding open office hours, Michelle has made herself extremely accessible to the student body, which is noticeable on a campus as quaint as ours. We've just heard Chancellor Behr speak about the power of place and the spirit of innovation. Her place, like ours, is in Morris, and that fact alone can't help but lend itself to the idea of innovation. Did you know that our 2 wind turbines produce more than 60% of UMM's electricity needs? Since Michelle arrived in February, these turbines have produced 5.5 million kilowatts of energy. To put that into relatable terms, that's equivalent to 20,000 years of straight Netflix. In tandem with our biomass facility and successful composting initiative, Morris sets the bar for innovation and on green college campuses. But the bar can always be raised. So where do we go from here? Michelle's inauguration brings with it the opportunity for change. When you combine change with innovation, you get transformation. And what Michelle Behr plans to do with her tenure here is nothing short of that. Her plan is already underway to craft a new strategic vision and plan for this university. The task is reimagining what a liberal arts education means in the 21st century, and the 21st century here, in this place. Modernizing our vision will require a great deal of input from people who are passionate about this place and what we do here. Students have always had a strong voice in administrative decisions here at UMM, but the chance to have a hand in redefining what this campus means and where we fit into the world might be one of our most exciting opportunities yet. As we wrap up this Cougar celebration, I would like to extend an invitation for all of you to continue the festivities in Oyate Hall for the reception for cake, punch, and coffee. I would also like to congratulate our new Chancellor one last time. Michelle, I hope you're excited as we are to have you, and I hope you love this place as much as your students. And on behalf of the student body, welcome to Morris.